Hey folks, ET here, and I'm going to just give a little bit of a rundown. We've got a lot of new users, got some old users that might need to brush up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a rundown of the tools, what they look like, how to use them, how to apply them, things like that, so everybody can kind of get a clean picture as to what to do while using the tools. So we're going to start pretty simply with our market net flow, which is just a big chunk of all the calls and puts that are happening in the market minus the indices and a couple other tickers. When Hader did his back testing, adding the indices actually degraded performance, and I believe Tesla might be missing as well. So this is the summation of the calls and puts that are going on in the market while we are open. All right, so another thing I want to point out is to get here, you click on your trading menu, and it's your first options right here that you click, okay? And that's going to bring you to your options market summary. Now, calls are your green line, puts are your red line. Down here, for your filters and settings, convergence is probably one of the most powerful ones, and it will get a little condensed if you start to click on a few of the other things. So I just like to leave convergence just as the only thing on. And what these bars are is strength of the move. All right, so right now you can see that when we are gray, we kind of move contrary. So even though we were bearish right here a little bit, we were moving up, right? This is gray is contrary and moving away from the direction of net flow. When colors match, green is strength of move, okay, and red would be strength of move if we were puts over calls. So right now calls are over puts. We saw a lot of chop here. This isn't very strong of a move, but we did start to see it dip here and wane. Waning here usually means that a contrary move is about to happen. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be some massive drop, but it does mean that it could be a contrary move. So we waned. This was a news drop right here, to be honest, about some stuff going on in Niagara Falls, but convergence did actually wane a little bit before it happened. Then, as you can see, big gray convergence bars, and as they started to shrink here, prices started to slightly start to move up as we've gone along here. So it's very simple. Green line is your calls, red line is your puts. Strength of move happens when color matches. Contrary moves happen when it starts to wane and gray starts to get bigger. All right, so one of the things sometimes I like to look at, did not do it today, one of the things I like to look at is if I start to see some waning, all right, and I start to see maybe just a small uptick in puts as we go along. If we're in a call scenario, I might front load a few puts. If we're reaching a resistance above, a gamma or SR or a dark pool, but not always like that. All right, next is our ODTE flow, our 0-day flow right here. And what you're looking for here isn't necessarily the color, all right? I want to point out, don't pay attention to the color of the circle. Sometimes they line out perfectly, sometimes they don't. What you're looking for is large circles rapidly. So here, as you can see, we started to get bought up, big circle, all of a sudden price is starting to recover, okay? So you can do that for SPY, SPX, or QQQ. I keep it on SPY all the time. I think the SPY data always seems to come out just a little bit cleaner, so that is the way I use it. Okay, so very simply put, once again, you're not caring about the color of the circle, just the rapid large circles that can signify a trend change. And you can almost plan out once you get to know the gamma levels, the GEX levels, the dark pool levels, and the SR levels, you can almost plan out to see these trend changes happen always around a point of contention with levels we've marked on our chart. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at 0-day GEX. One thing I like to point out is I love to use SPY over anything else. Some people like QQQ and SPS, XPX, but I prefer SPY over all the other ones. This is your buy time look, and this shows you things that are kind of rapidly moving as they go along, right? This is your strike. Your strike is your overall aggregate for the day. These things do move and shift a little bit, but it's not as easily noticeable as you will if you click change. Change is an important one to see because change, if you pair change and strike a little bit, and just let me give you an example. Let's talk about the colors of the levels first so there's no confusion. Green are repel levels. Red are draw levels. All right, so red are your magnets that attract each other, and green are your magnets that oppose each other. Okay, so simply put, 454 has been a pretty strong hold today. Green repels, Just when we're looking at our overall aggregate here, green repels as price hit it. It's managed to repel upwards over and over again, with 455 being a very strong pull, right? So it's been pulling price to 455 over and over again. Change is a new feature that's only been out for a few months, and what this does is show you what is changing right now as we speak. So sometimes you'll get a little bit of some muddy waters, you'll get a bunch of green levels all at once. Just remain patient. That is just some positioning happening while it waits for the next thing. So as you can see, over the day, 455 continues to change to be a very strong pull. Price continues to meet 455 over and over again, and 454 has for the most part, besides this morning, remained relatively positive and strong for a bounce level. I would like to point out the first 30 minutes of the session, these levels can go wild. You might see something that is $5 or $6 out of the money here. At the bottom, you might see something that's $5 or $6 out of the money here. So give the market a little bit of time. Give this time to digest in the morning. There have been times that I've been like, oh, we're heading down, and I see a lower level pulling right now. We must be going there immediately in the first 10 minutes. And then I've kind of watched it, and you can see later on that level might disappear or change positive. So give the market just a little bit of time to digest this at the open to see what's going on. All right, so that is our change. The difference between our change and our strike and our time here. Change is my favorite. I will check strike to look for very, very strong levels of resistance or support when it comes to our positive levels. Okay, so I will look at the strike there, but I'm always eyeing the change to see what might be happening over the next few minutes. We're at a power hour now, so sometimes it can get a little crazy the last 30 minutes. So we'll see how that plays out later on. Next is our market DEX, and this is really one of the things where I don't use this too often. What I do look for, a lot of people like to enter a position on one day, the day before or the day after, where if this is red DEX bar, then they enter shorts for the next day. But what I like to do is use it actually as a daily gauge of what is happening. So we did have some downside yesterday, and we had this red DEX bar, and so I kind of felt okay staying a little bit short for a portion of the day, but I did get rid of it at the end of the day. Did get rid of all shorts because and the next thing I talk about, our flow map had a lot of calls on the board going a little further out. So the flow map is another version of the live flow that you can see, and since it's some of it's short dated, all right, it changes a little bit. The longer dates can kind of give you a picture. Sometimes when you see something skewed to a big portion, you might want to think, okay, so that everything to the left is a sell, everything to the right of 0 is a buy. So here that is bearish because that is call selling and put buying for next Friday's expiry. Okay, so that's very interesting to see that we're seeing call selling and put buying for there right there. For today, for our weekly expiry, we're pretty even. Calls and puts are somewhat around there, and our net flow has actually been fairly flat for a portion of the day, so that actually makes a little bit of sense. They've kind of been neck and neck there, and puts have never really gone below 0 here, so that kind of matches up with what we see here. So that's how that flow map works. All right. I don't really use flow timeline that often, but it really does just kind of give you a snapshot of whether we're seeing an increase in flow or a decrease in flow as we go along there. So you can check your different dates to see how they appear. If you want to look a little further out, right? Let's just get rid of some of the close dates. All right, and see what happens. So we look into the further dates, and we see a little bit of degradation going into the 12:15, right? So flow is exiting there somewhat. That could be a bearish thing. Somewhat matches up with our 12:1 there a little bit. Now, dealer's diary, DMD as we like to call it. DMD is one of these things where it's very simple. I don't use it very often, but I do like to keep an eye on it just for some end-of-day changes. Big bar this direction that's red means on that date there is potential for an end of day run up. All right, when these bars are even, you ignore, right? Green bar, red bar, equal on the same side, you completely ignore them. Okay, so big bar to the left, end of day run up. Big bar to the right, end of day draw down. And by end of day I mean like last 15 to 5 minutes of the day. When you see these even bars like this, you just walk away. Don't look at DMD for the day. It works best on Fridays. Okay, it works best on Fridays. It works best on OPEX days. So write that down. works best on Fridays, works best on OPEX days. This is pretty simple to look at. All right, right here, this is our top flow for the day. What is pulling and pushing the most? As you can see, Tesla's had a bad day. It's down there at the bottom. So sometimes this is kind of a pre-look. Sometimes you'll see negative flow pop up on something as it is going up, and sooner or later that seems to come down pretty quickly. Usually matches up with a support resistance level and some gamma there as well. Same with here. NVIDIA had a very bad day to start, and then somehow managed to reclaim half of its losses in one day. Your simple calls and put chains. This is just high volume things that are starting to happen, okay, as we're going along there. And that's pretty much on this page what I look for. Sometimes I do like to check out sector flow to see what might be changing, see what we might be gaining and losing in our sectors. It's a good idea. You can get the premiums here. That's a little bit more simple to see. So we're definitely seeing tech getting hit up pretty hard, energy losing some. So some of these are going along. This can help plan your swing trades just a little bit, excuse me. And then our weekly sector inflow just kind of shows you what's been coming in and out throughout the days. All right, so this is what I cover. If you like to have a good time, high volume cheaply sometimes are nice lottos. If you see them, still have to do your own TA work through there. All right, next up, I'll show you flow line, which is just the entry of all of your different DTEs of net flow. You can also enter any ticker you want, so you can just type in Tesla, and it brings it up and it shows you its net flow. Okay, so this is your 1, your 15, your 7, and your 30, and then this is your unfiltered 1 day of Tesla, right? So to do that, you just type in market, and then your days, and then add ticker, okay? Actually, yep. So that is how you do that, and this just gives you a really big picture. I'm going to trash Tesla because I just like to keep this on my flow line. What this does is gives you a big picture as to what flow is looking like overall and what might just be happening. So sometimes you'll see a lot of chop, and like we saw a little bit early in the morning, we were kind of bouncing, not early in the morning, but midday where we bounced around a little bit. Sometimes you'll see a not consistent net flow across the board where we're really strong in calls, but puts are up everywhere else, and that's going to keep price pinned. Another thing I forgot to point out here while we're up here, your green and red time frame continuity. Time frame continuity, okay, so when you're looking for a really strong position, you're looking for one over the other. You're looking for a convergence that matches that color for strength of move, and you're looking for time frame continuity. This means all the net flow, MNF as we call it, this means all the MNF DTEs match, okay? So you're looking for TFC and your convergence on your MNF for more consistent directional plays. All right, so we've covered that. Next up, something I like to use just to look at, I cover it every morning, is Flash. I keep it pretty simple. I click minimum price as 15. I type that in, I click optionable, and then I choose divergences, algo flow divergence. And then I just start to look through to see what's positive, what's negative. So, and then I go through and look at them individually, which we can do here in a few minutes. All right, so now we've covered options market, we've covered all that stuff. We're going to jump into live flow, right? And to get to these things, flow line is here, okay? Flash is down here, right? That's an important one to look at. And then our live option flow is here. I'm going to show you my favorite filter. You can choose whatever you like the most. I've got mine right here, saved as ET. So that is how that goes. And here's what the filters look like. Bought, above ask, volume over OI, non-ETF, and non-spreads. But then there's a trick that I like to do. Because here's the deal. NVIDIA and Tesla are so muddy. You can see my entire screen is in NVIDIA and Tesla. So unless I'm looking to play one of those individually, I come up here into this search bar, I type in minus NVIDIA, minus Tesla, I hit enter, and then that clears my chart up a little bit for things that are above ask and that are matching a little bit closer to what I'm looking. Now, there are times I love to play Tesla and love to play NVIDIA, so during those times I'm going to search those individually with these same filters, and I'm going to look for a bunch of successive things happening over and over again. Successive and high premiums a lot of times is what I'm looking for. Right here, ARM has quite a few things hitting The premium's pretty low, so this is something that I might chart out and look for as a lotto, but I really like to see the higher premium ones go through. And when you see, sometimes you see these things like URI here, and you see these 1.35 millions, check that to make sure there's not an ex-div going on. Your ex-dividends make people do crazy things with the ticker, some sort of positioning probably for either hedging or so they can exercise to collect the div, things like that. So when you see these big ones, make sure and check there's not an ex-div coming up on that. So that is how I use live flow, and I basically just go through and I chart out the things and look through the things that I go through. All right, now let's talk about the SPY stock bet dashboard. I use this mainly to check what our seasonality looks like throughout the time, but there's a place I'm going to show you to do that later a little bit better. For the most part, I do this for the options Greeks. Now, if you're going to go into TradingView, and I'll show you what it looks like here in a second on my chart. If you ever watched a video, you know what my chart looks like. You want to follow this guide right here. You want to copy all this information, put it in your Pine editor to create the script. Make sure you select all before you paste this in, okay, or it's going to give you an error out, and then it's going to give you the trading indicator that you can install on your map. But what I like to do is I like to click GEX right here. Some people use Spot. Some people like to check Delta and Vanna. I'm a simple GEX person, and I just click all these really quick like this, and I get them drawn out, okay? And once I've got them drawn out, I go ahead and click my copy to TradingView. I click them up, I save them, and then I come into my chart over here. I click on this spot right here. I paste it in. That gives me the levels. Now it's going to give you positive and negative levels that are colored. I like my chart very simple with gray and purple, so I draw mine manually over those levels just so I can keep things the way I see them. All right, I draw them manually over my levels, and then I also add the signature prints, which I'm going to show you really quick where we find those. That is right here. SPY, you want to go to the dark pool, the second one down, for ticker dashboards. Remember, market dashboards are coverages of more things, everything, right? Like your net flow and your overall dark pool. But to get your individual SPY sig prints, you want to go to the second one down. You want to type in SPY right here, and here is a pointer. If nothing is showing up at the top of this page, it's not broken. Nothing is shown up, right? Keep that in mind. You won't see anything if there isn't a sig print that is noteworthy. So that is a very important thing to keep. Question I get asked constantly is, I don't see sig prints. You will not see the sig print unless some are showing up in the platform. So that's how that goes. Another important part to my daily thing is these dark pool levels. These aggregates are so important to me. I draw these on my chart. I add them everywhere I go. I actually use the Discord bot ping to pull it up. And if you're in our Discord, it's pretty simple. If you're in a Discord that somebody else runs that has the bots, you type in TR-DP levels space then SPY, and it will pull up an aggregate of all of this in orangish yellow. And then I come back and I manually draw these on my chart as well for use as points of contention. As you can see, I want to point out how well levels have worked today really quick while we're at it. 454 has been a positive level all day long. Look where we've managed to bounce at. 455 has been a strong pull all day long. We've managed to get there. Too far above 455, we've managed to pull back down because it has still been the strongest pull all day. So we've effectively been in a 455 to 456 range, but 455 has been the place we've revisited all day long due to that strong pull there, and too far below we bounce, right? And here's a sig print from yesterday. I've added it. I didn't add today's quite yet, but I will later on for Friday's morning prep video. So that is how you pull the levels in. Once you get this trading indicator up and you get it installed, you can turn it on and off through TradingView using this. You paste your information into here. You can change the levels. It'd probably be easier for me if I just went ahead and changed the positive and negative levels to gray so I didn't have to draw over them. That would be so simple for me. And then that is the way that works. One thing we talk about pretty frequently is ghost zones, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Ghost zones, these big areas here, are areas where currently there's no support or resistance in levels that aren't dark pools, just gamma-wise, and those are zones that price can move freely depending on what net flow is doing. So as you can see, if we lose 452 and have a big down day, there is potential for 455 unless some zero-day gamma shows up to save it. Right, so that's what our ghost zones are. Price moves freely depending on what net flow is doing. So a strong bearish day on net flow, losing 452, and it continues with convergence all day long, we could see a very bad drop day. If we have a choppy one after we lose it, there is potential the ghost zone shrinks and we start to see 0-day gamma pop up to save price, which we see all of the time. So that is how that works. All right, next up, we're going to talk about the SPY options dashboard. Very simple. I want to point out some things I do use, some things I don't use. What I do not use is the SPY options summary right here for its algo flow. All right. Indices are vehicles for hedging, and using its algo flow can be a little bit dangerous because there are days that it will absolutely not match price, but net flow will. So do not use this in my recommendation. It's there for us to look at, but I do not use it because it is a vehicle for hedging. That's just personal use. Your heat map's pretty simple. Positions are being sold, red. Positions being bought, green. There you go. Its net flow is the same as its algo flow, really. When you think about it, I also don't use it. It is green for the day, but that does not mean that I am going to use it in that manner. Here are the portions of it that I really do use. I do use its deltas, and I'm going to show you with the deltas spot. We can see them a little clearer here soon. So as it goes, deltas pushing upwards positive means dealers have to sell to bring price down to get even, right? Their job is to be as even as possible. Deltas far down means price rises. Dealers have to buy the equity to get even, okay? That is the simplest form of it. It does not work instantly. It is a build-up. When you see huge shifts, things happen. We saw our positive levels here drop so quickly, and price started to go up, and we actually went into a big negative area. Now we're starting to build up positive. We've had a big run, so it could be some profit taking, but there's also some potential for more downside as we're seeing these things. All right, price distribution I do look at, and the simple thing that I like to do is I simply like to just look at the bars. I like to go about 5 days out. I like to check each day just to see what the potential. Now I want to point out that whatever day you are on, once the market is open, I'm going to repeat that, whatever day you are on, once the market is open is the next day. So if you come here and it says 1 day and the market is open and it's Thursday, what you're looking at is Friday, okay? So what you're looking at right here on 1 day is Friday. All right, what you're looking at on the next one up is Monday. All right, and this would be Tuesday. And so I just want to point that out to be very clear. The next day is the next 1 day, and every day after is what you see after the market open. If the market's closed, right, it's still the same thing. You're going to see the next day's information. Dealer OI is pretty simple. Red actually equals a bullish position. Green equals a bearish position because we know what dealers have to do, right? They have to start to get even. These will start to shrink and even out as we go along. Customer is the opposite. Green is bullish, red is bearish. All right, moving along. My favorite part of our entire platform is checking SPY Gamma. Now, this is your aggregate. This is an overall run, all right, an overall run of everything that is an aggregate for SPY's Gamma. SPY Gamma is so important on SPY, and we use it every day in the Discord, and we talk about it all the time. As you can see, our overall aggregate is 455. It is a positive. We haven't really positive here. This is how that works, but I want to show you how I like to drill down. 11/22's expiry. We'll show you kind of a story here. There's our 454, our 455. Now these shift throughout the day, and they're going to look a little bit different than 0-day Gamma because they are a larger sampling of the pool that has happened over time, right? Even when we drill down to the days. So as you can see here, if we'd have gotten below 451, we would have a big negative. Remember, negative pulls, positive attracts. But our favorite thing to do in the Discord is look at the next day's Gamma about 2 hours in to see where price might be going, to give a little bit of a clearer picture. So this is still about the same, 455, 456. We're topping out there. These are positive because remember, we do see a difference. We do see a difference in price, or a difference in Gamma, when we're looking at these expiry filters over what the 0-day is, and these shift throughout time. So there will be a little bit different, but we like to use these to kind of maybe plan out the next few days. And what we like to do is we like to just go through a few days worth at a time to see how they change, to see if there's anything different. As we can see here, 457 to 453, which is about the range we've been in, going into next Monday has been pretty on point, right? We get up to about this price, we bounce down, we've been to 453. This 449 we've not hit yet because we're repelling between these two levels right here. So that's very important, something that I like to do. Now, next part, Gex and Vex profile. Always interesting to see. Anything below the 0 line is more supported. Okay, so 0 lines below is more supported. So really, what's interesting is this price is most supported around 447.7, which means we could see a dip. These aren't below 0 quite yet. They could dip. Excuse me, and that could cause a change for some more pull. But this is where you can kind of look at things and say, okay, so 449.2, 447.7, got this weird pull to 449 that's going on here. We hit 57 and we repel off of it. Maybe I swing short. Maybe not to 449, but maybe in the middle of there, 453 somewhere. And it might be a nice play if you start comparing it with what the price distribution is saying. If you see a rise a push in the positive manner in these dealer Greeks, then maybe that's a good time to take a short swing if that's something that you're looking at. So that is how I would look at that. Now, the last part we're going to look at, just to kind of walk you through to help you out a little bit, is the SPY charts page. All right, now charts page is very simple. You come here, you click charts, and it brings up your chart. I would like to point out that if you're looking at net flow on here, it's going to bring it down to the 1 minute, and you can change your time frames a little bit to get a different picture versus that right there. So one thing I want to point out, algo flow. Algo flow you do not want to click on if you're on SPY. That's going to give you that SPY algo flow that I said we don't want to use. If you go to an individual ticker, all right, you go to an individual ticker and you want to click on algo flow, you can change that up to see what that looks like for that particular ticker, okay? But you don't want to necessarily do that with SPY. So with SPY, I'll show you how this works. You type it in, go to indicators, you click on market net flow, you click on what day you want to view. Usually it's the 1 day that I'm looking for, all right, and then you're looking for major divergences, all right. Now some days the divergences are going to be a little bit crazy because there's some low volume pump going on or whatnot, but what you're looking for overall is price moving contrary to what this line says, all right. So right now we're seeing a little bit of a dip down on this, and price was moving up, but you're looking for that dip to get bigger. You want to see this line continue down while price moves up to create that divergence to give you some downside looks there. So that is what you look at there. You can change your time frames very easily by going here. You could change your chart to look at how you want. Some things that as I said, where you can look at dealer delta and get a little bit clearer picture. You can see here they're rising. You just click that. That's going to bring you out to the daily chart when you're doing that, and then that's how that works there. An important part to look at, seasonality is right here on this side. Shows strong November, a little bit weaker in December. So we know that is sort of a seasonality. So we see it tail off here near the end of November, which is what we're seeing here. A little bit of dips near the end of the days, even as we've run up. So the next part is what I like to do is I like to draw. I'm going to go ahead and go back and get our net flow on here so we can see what's going on. And I like to go to levels, and these are our AI drawn support resistance levels, and they have been working quite well for us over all this time period. It leaves your net flow on for you to see, and it also gives you these drilled down 1 minute, and you can change your time frame if you want to get a little bit bigger picture, your 1 minute and your 5 minute, 15 minute. So these AI drawn levels are quite good. So you can see we've been bouncing off of this one and had points of contention there, and then when you pair up some of the things like your 455 0-day gamma pull, very important as well. One other thing I like to do sometimes is add Gex levels. Did I click it all the way? Maybe clicked it too many times. There we go. All right, I added it too many times. Let me go ahead and click reset and get those drawn on there, and then grab our support resistance as well. All right, so now I've added everything multiple times again. Well, that is how that goes. So we can see we have a big negative level here, still down at 445. This could be a hedge, so no gambling here, right? This could sometimes, because they are vehicles for hedging, we will see gamma Gex appear somewhere else. We can see our positive levels go through there. I've got to stop clicking so many dang times. There we go. Got it. We can see there's a nice strong pull to 452, and then we see a nice positive level here for repels all right at 455 or at 451. So if price gets down there, it could be a nice bounce. So these are all the different things you can do on the charts page. You can draw on your 0-day GEX as well to see what's going. As you can see, your 455 is a massive pull at almost 1 billion, and that is where price keeps getting to no matter how far away it gets. All right, then it's also kept that other gamma on there, which made it a little bit confusing. Then you can come over here and you can see its net flow, which I said I don't look at much. You can check its customer position to see if customers are bullish or bearish, which you can also do on these things here. You can check customer calls and customer puts as you go along as well. You can check its gamma exposure to see what its biggest pulls and repels are, but I really like to do that from the SPY options page better right here. All right, so I'm hoping this is helpful to everybody, that you can kind of dig in and see all the different things that we do. Tried to talk a little slower than usual, which is hard for me because I like to keep it going. And I'm hoping this kind of helps you, give you a little bit of a comprehensive beginner's guide to jumping in and using some of the tools as we go along. If you are a new member and you're not in our Discord yet, make sure to go to the Unlock Premium channel, so that way you're verified, and then come down to the MNF-Trades channel where we all talk all day. Do not be shy. Ask questions. We are always here to help and have a good time and try to get everybody kind of on the same page and learning the tools. Everybody have a good day, and I will see you Friday when the market opens.